Okay, thank you. So this one is going to be slightly different. It's more of a story. It's more of a what we've done, how we've done some things, what were the traps or little things that we've achieved, and a little bit of how. But just a slightest bit about myself. Used to be a Sitecore MVP, used to work for Sitecore, came back here, and I'm back at engineering. So I'm still I'm having a lot of fun with Sitecore now from a different angle. And the story I'm going to tell you is about the project that I've joined around a year ago. That was way into it. And of course, as the website, as every website, needs to be functional, needs to look good, needs to serve its purpose of conveying the marketing message. Needs to look good, needs to perform. All of that is not untypical of any other site, any other website. And the stack, the technology stack, is also fairly typical. The Sitecore XP with SXA, headless SXA. This is 10.2, so not all of the best aspects of SXA are fully headless yet. Built on Vue of all frameworks. When I joined, I was quite surprised that the team has built a forms implementation on Vue. Sitecore has out-of-the-box implementation for React, but this is really, exemplary team both on front end and back end. And the front end has just implemented forms because they needed it, right? That was awesome. It's hosted in managed cloud and uses Content Hub as a DAM. And since I joined, I I'm not a one-trick pony, but I like scripting. So we did put a lot of, some PowerShell, and then we added some, and we've built some tooling around the site operations with it, and part of it is going to be about that. I still have no idea why is the clicker not working, but we'll see. Okay, so the interesting part is we've done around 9 brands, and I will need to just click by hand here, and all of the typical Sitecore things, right, has been happening. We've typical Sitecore thing and typical WPP thing, or Wunderman Thompson thing, where we've improved and implemented all of the vitals. We've had kind of impressive improvement on the behaviors, but we also fairly dramatically improved the thanks to JSS, we've managed to improve the Google Lighthouse score, and also the usability and digestibility of a site. But that's not untypical of most of the websites that you're going to be doing with Sitecore and any other websites builds that we've done. What's not typical is that the task that we faced was, what if we had 2,000, 3,000 websites in that instance? We need to deploy three or 600 600 websites in a month, right? So how do we do that? How do we handle a brand with 6,000 websites, and not crash and not stutter and deliver on all of the vitals still? That's kind of the time where I joined. There was a lot of functionality there around that already. But there is I'm not sure, I'm sure some of you listen to .NET Rocks. Richard Campbell has this nice story about servers. Like, we used to treat them as pets, but now they are cattle, right? Well, now they are going into the cloud. And that's kind of what we had to do to the sites, right? They are not pets. We need to treat them en masse. We need to massively scale. So for that, we had to build a bunch of technology. One of those technologies is virtual content. That part was, I didn't have that much with it. Krzysiek here and Wojtek and Pavel had implemented that in a large part when I joined the project. And what virtual content is for is to create a scalable content architecture that will handle from a small to a large brand, with sites that can be deployed rapidly, that can be automated, that can be share some settings. So you're going to see that this is a sample debranded version of that, where we have a number of brands in our environment, with a corporate site and a shared site holding all of the layouts that will be shared by different by the websites, the microsites in the organization, plus, let's say, 600 locations divided by county that would be created automatically. What's important about them, that this is our cattle. This is the websites that need to be created very rapidly, and they need to share a lot of content, a lot of layouts, and they can be divided into segments. And segments are basically where most of the editing needs to happen. So for this, when we're editing something in a segment, as you see here, I've got a page that I want to show in some of the websites. So a lot of the websites don't really have the pages. The pages exist in the segment itself, but the websites are a view on a segment with the context of that website. You can create pages in a website, but in many cases, you basically want to create a page that will be shared by multiple websites, and then will it show in that website or not will be governed by rules that you can trigger based on the different properties of that website. So that's part of it. That's what the challenge here is that since this does not really exist, we couldn't use a lot of the built-in functionalities like a sitemap or a navigation from SXA or basically regular browsing of the content. So that was that forced us to have that fully custom. Yet another thing is that if you look at the page and you see that a part of that page you would like to have like a different carousel on every website, you kind of need those data sources for those components virtualized. So what we've built for that is we've added an ability to virtualize the data source, and basically what it would do is we would create a custom query with a segment being the root, and then based on which venue you were looking at, you would see a different data source. Now, that requires scale. Creating just even those data sources was not really that much fun for editors, for merchandisers, right? So we've built a bunch of technologies. Technology. It was basically me having fun building scripts and giving them fun name, like virtual data source ripple maker or content cannon. So the ripple maker is a script that will take a data source and just basically ripple the changes across multiple data sources and just create a data source for every site that I will check in here, and then I can shoot that content into an Excel file and just export it based on just the data template. If it matches the rich text data template, just export everything here and give me an Excel file. So as an editor, I can look at 1,000 websites, at a rich text, at the message in a carousel for 1,000 websites, and just edit it and then import it back, seeing, okay, that's a new value, there wasn't a value here, that's an old value that will be traded for a new value, and then import it, right? So it's a different quality, it's a different way of thinking about the website. You cannot really just go into a page after page or data source after data source. It just won't scale. Another thing that we had to kind of reimagine was the content tokens. So SXA has content tokens. However, it doesn't support them for JSS. There's a different implementation for it. There needs to be a different implementation for it, and it's basically just pieces of content. So unlike most of the SXA, this one is kind of not pipelinable. It's not pipelined in a way that you cannot just code your own tokens. So what we basically had, those websites, you're going to see why in a moment, have a lot of kind of embedded meta information in them, which we can then later use, like location or location manager or a phone or a name, that you can just share a carousel, but just embed just this site name in it, so that it can be dynamic and vary from site to site, even though they are all using one and the same item, right? That's basically the only way, apart from hiring a whole city to edit your instance, to actually scale to 600 websites, a month, right? And of course, the static token is the way, basically, like SXA, like what SXA has, and just wouldn't be myself if I didn't put Scriven somewhere in there. So, there is a Scriven tokens there as well. This may at some point turn into some module because it's actually, I think it's too cool to just be limited to one thing. So performance, because I'm fairly sure that this is one of the things, like this is the thing that made me worry, right? How does Sitecore deal? How will Sitecore deal with that performance? And will it actually handle right now nearly 2,000 websites? And where will be the bottlenecks, if any, right? And does Sitecore handle it? Yeah, I mean, it works as soon as we rewrote some of the things, right? So so SXA has a lot of kind of monitoring of events, and it will be invalidating a lot of caches or reloading things based on when something is saved or moved or renamed, or it watches the items that count for it, and it watches them a little bit too well sometimes. So basically what we observed was whenever I saved as an item that would be important for SXA, like a site definition item, it would freeze for a minute or longer, right? The more sites we've introduced, the longer this pause was. So, okay, so how important is the information in the site provider to be 100% up to date all the time? Well, I'm saving it. Until then, it's not there, so it doesn't know about it. But how important is that save, right? It needs to be there eventually, right? It will be there when it will be there. So what we've done instead is we kind of pipelinized the whole reloading process, website's reloading process, and I moved all of the kind of heavy processors, most of them, but they are not all created equal, to that. So basically, what is happening is whenever I change something, we're starting a site reloading event in the background in a Sitecore job. It will do its job when it will do its job. It will serve the old list of sites until the new one is ready. And then it will just replace it eventually, right? And if in the meantime you saved something again, it will just, okay, well, now you have the slightly fresher list, and then we'll reload it in the background again. And we've just removed the abusers from the events. We've just introduced our own event in place of the SXA cache clear. We've put our cache clear, and it's interesting actually. Like out of all of those things, like there's a factory reset, info resolver reset, HTTP refresh, site cache clear, like multi-site cache clear, like reloading, all of that. Which one would you bet is the heaviest? Because I was super surprised. Like this HTTP root refresher, if we moved that alone, like the rest almost doesn't count. But it was actually very interesting to see and to experience that. Like after we've done that, it just smooth sailing, and Sitecore is really scalable. Like 2,000 websites doesn't make an impression on it. The only loading time that needs to happen kind of synchronously is the first loading time, right? Because Sitecore needs to start up with some sites in it, right? So basically what you see is whenever you save it, you will see that SXA site provider background refresher is doing something in the background, and then you have new sites, right? Until then, it's just, it's just not yet there. But how do you create a 600 sites without losing your mind? Because it really, like, I wouldn't want to be in that job of creating it and creating all of the managers, addresses, emails, like putting all of that in Sitecore, right? So luckily the customer have a feed and basically has a database of all of them, of all of their locations, and we could use that. They basically they are refreshing it every day. It's made available for us, and we basically access that and spin the process for as many brands anonymized as needed. So if you know that you've added another location, you just rerun the process. If you know that something has changed, you can show the venues, the locations that already exist, and we can refresh it for you. But in here, I just created I've just run the process for a feed, for a new daily feed, and I can see that that there is a site that we have a site with that name, but it has a different ID. So we handle that in one way. Then we have a new site, then we have a site where a segment doesn't exist. So you can see that we cannot handle that website, but we can handle this website. And then you basically either say, okay, you know what, just create them all, just update them all, or select those that you need, and it will basically spin up an SXA, pre-configured SXA scaffolding job for a microsite, for a micro JSS site, with all the good things that SXA has to offer. So when you have 2,000 websites, you kind of have 2,000 problems, right? Because each of those websites, like, something can go wrong. They can go in conflict on the domain, on different some settings. There is integrations that require different unique IDs. So you kind of need a constant monitoring and really good management and monitoring and fixing tools for that. Like, there is no chance that you can fix 2,000 websites in any manageable time, in any manageable budget, if you don't have that scripted. So we kind of kept building those scripts. Like, there is a script to fix this, there is a script to monitor that. In sometimes this monitor that, we just added a fixer for that. And we have this kind of, at some point we just integrated it all, and we have one mega script that you just start. You go for I don't know, if you can go for a coffee, it runs for about 2-3 minutes, right? So if you're really fast. And then it basically looks at all of the aspects of your website, and it checks, okay, do we have any websites that scaffolding has failed in any known to us way? Do we have websites that are misconfigured? Do we have, JSS worker misconfiguration? How about sites that have conflicting names? Because, that happens, right? Conflicting site IDs, conflicting, resolution, which is basically if sites can cover each other because one of them has a virtual folder, one of them doesn't, and if you order them differently, one will disable another, right? That's just something that you cannot check by hand, right? Even if you wanted to, because you still need to create those new sites while those can start going bad, right? So all of that requires a lot of monitoring, hygiene, and checking, and I would say that scripting is a good approach for that. We kind of realized that there were some tools that we were also missing, like Active Sites Report is actually like an kind of equivalent of SXA Site Manager, but it looks at what the site provider has inside rather than what SXA Manager think the result will be, which is, it's exceptional, it's working exceptionally well, but when you have 2,000 websites, like there can be all kinds of different situations, right? And it keeps growing constantly, right? So similarly, all the content management, all the content kind of like enrichment tools, it requires a really different. It requires really a different approach. There was one other interesting challenge that we've run into. It just doesn't work with that number of websites. So ask for Sitecore to give you the patch. There is a patch for it. And it can work, and it can work really well. Just requires you to be up to date. So the key takeaways. XM is nearly infinitely scalable. If you can have the memory and the power, the CPU power, there's really we've been looking at it with 200, 600, and we were so excited. I remember a few years ago. Now it's just proven itself to be, fully capable to run thousands of websites. Like I said, we have 2,000 websites on production right now, and we bring hundreds of websites, every couple of months onto it, and it just doesn't impress it at all. Make sure that you really think about how you will be approaching editing and maintenance, and how you will reuse things, and how you can make things editable once rather than in multiple places, so that you don't get into situations where you have to just supplement it with brute force editing, right? Because that's quite unfortunate. So remember about the hygiene of your site. We have an exceptional deployment pipeline for that, but that does not. What I'm thinking right now is the hygiene of the content, of the settings, of the configuration. That can really go bad really quickly if you don't watch it. And the best way for it to kind of do that is through scripting. And not because, well, not because I like scripting, but because it's really like you get so much for free with the UIs and that comes with SPE, and you get the power to deploy things. Should I be saying it? Well, the customer asked us to do this more than once, so I'll say it, to deploy things live just by copying a few items, right? Just by deploying a few items into a production server, and it can save your bacon. Yeah, if you spot a problem, just script the hell out of it. And it works. I mean, Jesus Christ, I really wasn't sure how it will end up, but Sitecore really can handle thousands of websites in a single instance in a not really that heavy server environment, and it's just fine.